Only 15% of teenage girls in Australia can answer basic financial questions correctly, and that should worry every single parent. Hi, I'm Emma Sutherland, clinical naturopath, author, mum, and your host. In my clinic, I see firsthand how financial stress affects health, sleep, hormones, anxiety, and even family relationships. That's why today we're talking about financial literacy in kids, because the research is very clear. The money habits your child learns early can shape their health, their confidence, and independence for decades to come. Today, I'm going to share some eye-opening statistics from the 2025 Australian report by Frontier Economics. We're also going to talk about why financial literacy starts earlier than most parents realize. And then, most importantly, I'm going to give you 5 simple things you can start doing at home this week with your kids. Let me start with a statistic that literally stopped me in my tracks. Nearly 45% of Australian adults are considered financially illiterate. That's around 8.5 million people who struggle to understand basic concepts like interest rates, inflation, and investment risk. But here's the part that really matters for parents. Financial literacy is lowest in young people. Only 28% of teenage boys and just 15% of teenage girls can correctly answer basic financial questions that cover compound interest, inflation, and investing. That means most young Australians are entering adulthood without the skills they need to manage money confidently. Not because they're lazy, not because they're bad with money, but because they were never taught. Now, a recent survey on over 17,000 Australians showed that individuals with limited financial knowledge are twice as likely to experience financial insecurity compared to those with high financial literacy levels. We often think financial literacy is just about budget, savings, maybe superannuation. But the research shows it goes much, much deeper than that, because financial literacy doesn't just influence your bank balance. It influences your stress levels, your decision making, and ultimately your health. Here's what we know. When people understand money, they are more likely to plan ahead, build up some savings, avoid high-risk debt, and manage financial shocks way more effectively. That then reduces financial stress, and chronic stress is a well-known driver of poor health. It affects sleep, it affects your mental health, it increases the risk of conditions like anxiety, depression, and cardiovascular disease. And over time, those health impacts can lead to more hospital visits. In fact, this Australian report found that improving financial literacy across the population could reduce hospital admissions in older Australians by up to 900,000 hospitalisations every single year. Not because financial literacy magically prevents illness, but because financially secure people experience less stress, make better health decisions, and are better able to manage their lives as they age. I see this all the time in my clinic. So this is not just a money issue, this is a health issue. And it highlights something really important. Financial literacy is a life skill, just like nutrition, movement, and sleep. Here's what many parents don't realize. Financial habits are often formed in childhood and early adulthood, and those habits tend to stick. This report makes it very clear. If we want meaningful long-term outcomes, all children need access to financial literacy education. But here's the challenge. Financial literacy is still not taught as a standalone subject in Australian schools, which means in many cases the responsibility falls back to the parents. Here's the good news though. You don't need to be a financial expert to teach your child about money. So let me share 5 action steps you can implement with your kids. Action step number 1, Start talking about money early. Not when they get their first job, not when they leave school, now. Families who talk about money regularly develop confidence and better decision-making skills. You can do some simple things like explain why you're saving for something, why it's so important to you. Talk about needs versus wants and the difference between them, because money conversations build money confidence. The second step, give them money to manage. This is one of the most powerful learning tools because financial literacy is not theoretical. It's very much behavioral and psychological. Give them a weekly allowance, even $5 works. Give them opportunity to earn extra pocket money and let them decide how to spend or save any birthday money they receive. These are all opportunities to practice when to save, when to spend, and how to plan with their money. Teach your child delayed gratification, as this is one of the strongest predictors of financial success, not income and not intelligence. Instead of buying immediately, try saving for something or waiting a week to see if you really want it. Or maybe set a future saving goal for a bigger ticket item. This builds discipline and resilience. Action step number 4, let them make small mistakes. This one can be uncomfortable as a parent, but it's incredibly important because mistakes made with $10 are much safer than mistakes made with $10,000. If they spend all their money too quickly, let them experience the consequence because that's how learning sticks. Action step number 5, the last one, model healthy money behavior. Children watch what we do more than what we say. They see us planning, saving, talking openly about money, and managing stress around finances. They learn these behaviors too. And this is where us as parents have the biggest influence. Here's the big takeaway from this report. Financial literacy is not just about money. It's about confidence, independence, health, and the habits that shape those outcomes often start in childhood. The good news, you don't need to have a finance degree. You don't need perfect knowledge. You just need to start with small conversations, small lessons, and small habits, because those small habits repeated over time create financially confident adults. Thanks so much for being with me today. I will link to that report below so you can dive into it and read it for yourself. Don't forget to like the video, make sure you hit that subscribe button below, and check out the links in the show notes for more information.